Welcome to the first installment of What in the Q&A, where you ask questions about a specific topic having to do with ADHD and I answer them. The first topic that I wanted to make a Q&A video on was ADHD medication. So I posted a prompt on Twitter and said, what questions do you have about ADHD medications? And I got a lot of really good questions. Some of them are questions that I hadn't even thought about before or things that I don't know anything about. So I want to make sure that I research them and fully understand them so I can give you accurate information and I'm not just throwing random stuff out on the internet. So today I'm going to answer 3 questions that are pretty straightforward. The first question comes from Zach. I can't have caffeine because it tends to give me anxiety. Will it be difficult to find medication that will suit me if stimulants have this kind of effect on me? Zach, this is a really valid concern, especially since a lot of us with ADHD also have an anxiety disorder. Something that I want to point out right away is that stimulants aren't your only option to treat ADHD. There are non-stimulant medications that some people choose to take over stimulant medications to treat their ADHD. These kinds of medications don't have the same effect on your central nervous system. They're not going to make your heart beat faster or possibly prompt anxiety in the way that a stimulant would. There are 4 options for non-stimulants, and I'm totally going to butcher these names, but bear with me. The first one is atomoxetine, also known as Strattera. The second one is guanfacine, and those come in 2 brands, Intuniv and Tenex. The third one is clonidine or clonidine. That comes in 3 brands. Catapres, totally saying that wrong, Capve, and Nexiclon XR. And the last one is probably the most popular one, bupropion. Bupropion. Say that 3 times fast. This is also known as Wellbutrin. Non-stimulants work similarly to, say, antidepressants, in the sense that they're not going to work immediately. These medications take a couple of weeks to build up in your system before you start noticing a difference. I'd say the average for these to start working is about 4 to 6 weeks, give or take. If you try out one of these for about a month and you're not noticing any differences, you have 3 options. 1, you can ask your doctor to increase your dosage. 2, you can ask your doctor to switch you to a different non-stimulant brand. Say you are on Strattera, now you want to try Wellbutrin. And 3, you can ask your doctor if you can be put on a low dose of a stimulant medication. Medications like Adderall, Vyvanse, and Ritalin usually have a dosage of about 5 to 10 milligrams, and that's the best dosage to start with. Unlike non-stimulants, stimulants are going to work right away. Think of how painkillers work. You don't have to take ibuprofen every single day for an entire month to feel the effects of ibuprofen, right? Instead, you take an ibuprofen and you feel its effects within about an hour. This is how stimulants usually work, if it's the right stimulant for you. Fortunately, because they're fast acting, you're going to notice if you have anxiety symptoms right away. So if you do end up taking a stimulant, then I would suggest taking your first dose on a day where you don't really have a lot going on, just to see the effects that it's going to have on you. That way, if you do notice those anxiety symptoms, then you know, okay, this isn't the right medication for me, and those feelings should go away within 12 hours. For what it's worth, I've been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, and I take 30 milligrams of Adderall XR almost every day. And I've never had a panic attack the way I used to before I started taking antidepressants. So personally for me, Adderall has not caused any sort of anxiety or panic attacks, but I really want to stress that everybody's body is different, so I can't speak for everybody when I say that. So Zach, I hope you're able to find the best medication for you, and good luck. The next question comes from Jenny. How long does it normally take to figure out the right meds and dosage? I've been working on it for about a year and have been on different Adderall combinations, and I really liked it at first, but now I'm not sure if it's even working. So this isn't an uncommon thing, but it's definitely not something that happens to the majority of people that take stimulants. Normally, stimulants should start to work after the first or second dose. Of course, this depends on a few things: the medication's mechanism of action, the person's specific metabolism and brain chemistry, and the person's stomach contents. So let me break that down. Mechanism of action is a term used to describe how the medicine is chemically working inside of our bodies. Adderall, for example, gives amphetamines directly to your body, which is then absorbed into your bloodstream, and then it directly affects your central nervous system, which then is prompted to produce dopamine. On the other hand, you have medicines like Vyvanse. Vyvanse does not give your body direct amphetamine. Vyvanse first needs to be processed by your liver. So once the Vyvanse actually goes through your liver, out comes a molecule made by you, and it's similar to amphetamine. And then that goes on to affect your CNS and then produce dopamine. So like I said, the person's specific metabolism and stomach content can definitely also affect how well this medicine is going to work for somebody. For medicines that have to be first processed by the liver, this is a non-issue. With Adderall, if the stomach is too acidic or too full, the medicine won't be absorbed to the full extent and you won't get the full effect out of the medication. It's best to wait about 2 hours after eating to take your medication. Additionally, it's also best to avoid foods and drinks that are acidic while you're wanting the medicine to work. This is especially true for citric acid. For some reason, citric acid has a really bad opposing effect on medications like Adderall. If you take your Adderall and you notice that it's starting to work and then you chug a glass of orange juice, then you're going to notice that it's not as effective after. Side note, this is kind of a cool hint. When you've reached the end of the day and you're trying to wind down, but you notice that the medication is still in effect, it's a good idea to have acidic food. Eat an orange, drink some orange juice, and that should help to kind of flush out the effectiveness and make it easier for you to wind down at the end of the day. If all of those things have already been addressed by you and your doctor, then you may just need to switch brands. Like I said, everyone's chemistry is different. Some people swear by Vyvanse, but I took Vyvanse for a little while and I didn't notice anything other than it made my armpits smell weird and it made me really tired. So it really just depends on your body and how your body processes different types of medication. But I want to reiterate, like I said at the beginning of the question, in general, stimulants should start to work pretty quickly, especially if it's a stimulant like Adderall. So Jenny, I'm really sorry that you've been dealing with this for a year. That's a long time to be dealing with something like that. I'm sure it's very frustrating, but I definitely encourage you to talk to your doctor about maybe switching to Concerta or Ritalin or Vyvanse and seeing if switching brands might be the best option. Side note, one last thing I wanted to add to that. If you, Jenny, or if you're like Jenny and you're watching this and you're experiencing something similar and you suspect that you have anxiety and or depression that is untreated, I would also definitely recommend talking to a doctor about getting that taken care of as well, because sometimes antidepressants and stimulants can work synergistically to take care of all kinds of issues. So your Adderall, and then if you take like Lexapro or Zoloft, they can work together to help with anxiety and focus. So I don't know if as you've been watching this, you've noticed that my nose is getting progressively redder and redder, but it's because it's itchy and I can't stop itching it. And now I've been looking in the camera and my nose is redder than it was than when I started filming, but whatever. So the last question comes from Dana. Is it fine to only take stimulant meds some days and not every day? Or does it work better if you take it every single day? Like I mentioned in my previous answers, stimulants and non-stimulants work very differently in our bodies. If you were asking this question about a non-stimulant, I would tell you, you definitely need to take your non-stimulant every day because that's how it's going to keep being effective for you. However, you're asking about stimulants. And we all know by now that stimulants are faster acting than non-stimulants. Therefore, they don't need to be taken every single day to be effective for you. Most prescribing doctors actually do recommend taking a break for a day or two on the days that you don't necessarily need them. For example, let's say it's Saturday and your plans include sitting in the living room and binging a Netflix show and then ordering takeout for dinner. On days like that, you don't need to take your stimulant medication. Skipping days really helps with your tolerance, for lack of a better word. If you take your stimulant medication every single day, you may start to notice that they're becoming less and less effective. This is totally normal, but it's going to happen a lot quicker the more often you take your medication. So skipping a day or two will give your brain and adrenal glands time to kind of rest and be fresh for the next time that you do take your medication. So those are the 3 questions that I had for you today. I hope they were helpful for at least Zach, Jenny, and Dana. But I also hope that anybody else watching this that's dealing with similar issues or had similar questions also found this useful. If you have a particular question about ADHD medication, feel free to send me a tweet or send me a direct message on Twitter at @WhatTheADHD. If you don't have Twitter or you just prefer to ask questions in the comments here on YouTube, I'm totally cool with that too. Like I said, I got lots of really great questions. This is probably going to be part 1 of like 5 maybe. So ask away. I love seeing that people are thinking about these kinds of things when it comes to treating their ADHD, and I love helping people along their journey with their ADHD and ADHD treatment. If you haven't yet, I would really appreciate if you hit the subscribe button. It takes half a second and it's free to you, but it really helps me in the long run. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time on What in ADHD. Stay weird. was I saying?